travel is most people think travel agencies make a fortune. They think that they're making 20, 30% profit. They don't. They make less than 10% profit. And then out of that 10% profit for when they sell something, you still got to keep the lights on. You still got to pay the insurances. You still got all your ATOL licenses. And, people don't realize that, travel isn't as profitable as what you would think it is. And these travel agencies don't make a killing. They don't make that much money at all. And that'd be my only thing is it'd work for, like your big players, your big guys. Salesforce would be fantastic. But, trying to convince someone smaller who's only got like 10 employees, for example, like someone completely independent, when you're suddenly talking about what the licenses are, which, they're not cheap, but there's no point really getting Salesforce Essentials, which doesn't really come with much.
No.
You've got to start looking at like professional really to start getting stuff. And even then at professional, your hands are going to be tied to a certain extent. So when you start talking, well, it's going to cost you like 70 quid per user per month, you're like, well, hang on, that's 700 quid. It's like, that's, that's a big chunk that. And again, because they're so used to working with spreadsheets and working with manual contracts, and they do have automated system as well, but these systems are nowhere near as good as what Salesforce can do. There's that challenge. But that being said, I know there are travel companies who are using Salesforce and using it really effectively. So
there's a couple of ISVs out there that are focusing on that space. It'd be interesting to see how they're getting on actually in the current pilot and bounce back. I know. So when you going back a little bit to when you were knocking on some doors trying to get your foot in the door in Salesforce, did you get many interviews, or was Art of Cloud really the only one that gave you that time?
No, I got a few, and I was really fortunate in that I ended up with 3 offers on the table.
Blimey. Okay.
So yeah, I got really lucky, and I think the key behind it, and again, this is, some people think you've got to put some kind of fake persona on, about being like really professional and hello, sir, my name's David Massey, and I'd love a chance to speak to you. And realistically, people aren't bothered. They just want to speak to you. They just want someone genuine. So, it's like Ben Stevens, like I said, he's just a top bloke. And I messaged him. I was like, hey, Ben, looking at getting into the Salesforce ecosystem. I was wondering, if you had any junior positions. And he just messaged back, said, not at the moment. We're looking at moving offices. And I think it was in like September or something like that. He said, I'll reach out closer to the time.
September 9. No, where are we now? September 2020.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was like, all right. And I was like, well, at least he's come back to me. So then I went and got a job. Well, I say got a job. I got an offer from a company in Wigan, but they were very data heavy. They were more Informatica than they were Salesforce. And then literally about a week before I was due to start that, Ben just messaged me, just saying, hey, Dave, are you still looking at getting into the world of Salesforce? We might be looking at bringing someone on. So I just messaged him back. And again, there was no messing around. I'm not blowing smoke or anything. I was just like, thanks, Ben. But I've actually accepted an offer. And I think I don't want to waste your time because, I've already accepted an offer. And he was like, oh, no, that's fine. Let's just have a chat anyway. And it might not be now, but it might be in the future.
Yeah.
Then I had a chat with him, had a call with him, like a Zoom call. It was a Google Meet call with him and Liz, and just got a really good feeling from him. They offered me the role about an hour after the meeting, and the rest was history. It was like, yeah, these guys are going to work. And I said, and that was August. I think, was that August? It might have been July. I think I started in August. So it might have been July. And again, it was just, there was no pretending to be something that I wasn't, and they weren't pretending to be something that they weren't. And that's what I love about the ecosystem is, you do get people who have like a persona and stuff like that, but realistically, it isn't that way inclined. Do you know what I mean? People are people, and they don't pretend to be something that they're not. You probably know this from speaking to candidates. Like, you can pick up straight away if you speak to someone and they're not being genuine. Within 10 seconds, you go, oh, no, that's not right. And that's what's good about this ecosystem is people are just friendly and you can just chat to people easily.
Absolutely. I mean, and to be fair, there's a place for everyone. I mean, you've got the big corporates that you might consider to be a little bit more of that the type that the persona you said earlier on. But I tend to find if you do go to a partner like Art of Cloud who are owner managed, that you're going to get the real thing really, and great experience, I imagine.
Yeah,
working
definitely.
for a company like that where you probably get to get your hands dirty in everything. Maybe if you'd gone to a big enterprise partner, you may have been pigeonholed a bit early as just a BA or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whereas working for a smaller one, you get to do all sorts of things.
Yeah. And you get to lend a hand. Do you know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
on some projects, as soon as I saw flaws, I knew they were going to be incredible. Like just being able to see what you could do with them. This was like 2 years ago before they got really powerful. And I knew that was going to be what was going to happen. I
Yeah.
just kind of had this feeling. And I learnt flaws, and then, at Art of Cloud, I suddenly became the person to go to about flaws. So because I became the go-to person for flaws, I then started to be able to touch so many more projects because people thought, oh, we need this floor built. And well, go to Dave, give it Dave, he'll have a look at it and see what we can do. And yeah, I kind of niche down into flaws, and that's one of the things I'm quite strong at.
It's not a bad thing to be niching at, is it? My
No,
wife,
no, it's so
my wife's
powerful.
our internal admin, and she's just getting her head around it. I mean, she's like,
Yeah,
it's a side job, in terms
yeah,
of, as a lot of people have become an accidental admin. But she was going on about it the other day. I mean, it means nothing to me, but clearly it's exciting to someone who's, into that. I say,
yeah.
but
The geeks a bit like me.
but you know what? I nearly said the G word. I pulled away from that, but you said it.
I said it, it's all right.
So obviously I know you give sort of too much away, but you then moved on from Art of Cloud to go to Third Eye. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. So I
Well,
moved
the
on.
motivation there, and if you don't upset anybody, obviously, but was there a particular reason for that, or just felt like the time was right to move on?
Yeah, I just felt like that the time was right to move on. It was one of them where I knew I needed to learn more, but to learn more, I couldn't do it on my own at that point. I had to work with, like some talented people, some architects and stuff like that. And, I've been very fortunate in working with some really good people at Third Eye as well. And that was really the motivation behind it was working closer with, because again, if you have a look at Third Eye and you go through kind of the people there and you look at the backgrounds, you've got Deloitte, you've got Blue Wolf, you've got 4C, you've got those kind of people. And when you
Yeah,
come from that kind of background, you generally pick up a couple of good skills. And that was
yeah.
kind of what I thought. Is I saw it and I was like, well, I'm gonna have to give this a whirl. And yeah, and I moved on to Third Eye.
And have you got yourself? Are you involved in interviews now for Third Eye, or did you ever do that for Art of Cloud? Do you actually get involved in interviewing for new candidates?
So I did one or two Art of Cloud, but I don't tend to get involved at Third Eye. It's kind of a different remit to what I do. So there's a couple of the more senior members of staff and senior leadership. They're the guys who do all the interviews at Third Eye.
No, so when you were at Art of Cloud, then it was something that even in the short time you've been doing it, you were still brought in to interview, Salesforce people basically. So what was your style for that, and what is it that you would look for? I mean, I know we touched on experience
Yeah,
versus certifications, but
it
is there
would.
particular?
It all depend on the role, to be honest. But I mean, when we were bringing in, I'm going to use the word general, and I don't mean that in a negative way. But when we weren't bringing in someone who was specialised, like CPQ or all like that, and it was someone we wanted to bring in as a consultant or who we could train up to touch different products, then I was just looking for decent people. It's like we've all heard, that saying, and you've probably seen it. I don't know if anyone's seen this on the Huel wall that they have, which is "Don't be an idiot," basically,
Yeah.
and that was essentially it. You know what I mean? I was just looking for people who weren't idiots because to me, you can train anyone technical skills. With enough time and enough patience and the right training, anyone can pick up the technical skills. But what's really hard to train out of people is if they're rude, if they're abrasive, if they don't work as a team, if they've got an air of arrogance. To train that out of
Mm.
someone is incredibly difficult. Whereas if you've got like a really nice guy, so like we hired a guy called Callum at Art of Cloud.
Yeah.
He really genuine nice guy. Do you know what I mean? Do
Yeah.
anything for you. Happy to go for a pint with you. Really nice bloke. And he just picked stuff up dead quick. But it was because he didn't have that air of superiority or anything. I mean, he knew Salesforce, but he didn't see himself as being any kind of expert. And he picked loads up, and he was just a nice guy. And it just makes the office nicer. You know what it's like when you get a couple of dodgy people in an office, it can just throw it
Oh,
off. So that was
absolutely.
the key behind it. And then when it came to, I mean, the more technical stuff was, we had an interview for a CPQ guy once, and I just asked some basic questions with CPQ, and he couldn't explain certain things like twin fields, or how you put together bundles